Before the podcast starts, I'd like to give a personal thank you to THQ. Thanks to THQ, we were able to hand out the prizes at SAC Anime as well as the Race 300 giveaway online. Thank you again for THQ for giving us the awesome Metro 2033 gas mask giveaway. And thank you for the humble bundle that we also were giving away. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Beyond from Mission Start Podcast, and like first to say is Happy New Year. We're in 2013. By the time you listen to this, you're either in Sacramento for SAC Anime, or you're at home and you're kind of just chilling with yourself and listening to us. I'm your host, Anthony Beyond, and with me tonight is Kris.
Yellow.
Little
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know if you there was a little more to that or not. So
Right,
my bad.
right. I could have said here's Kris from our website, or Kris, our convention reporter, but I'm just like gonna be very formal. It's like, here's Kris. He's a nice fellow.
All right.
He's from the Pokemon world. No. Anyways, so tonight we have it's just gonna be me and him tonight. And we're gonna be talking about the main discussion later in the podcast. Is kind of looking back at the year 2012. It is 2013 right now, but we're going to look back and see what were the biggest things to come out. And not necessarily game of the year topics, because I'm pretty sure that majority of our podcasts you might have listened to already discussed their opinions about it. So we're going in a bit of a different route. But before that, Kris, what have you been up to? It's been a while.
Well, it's definitely been quite an up and down road. I'll say that much.
Mm-hmm.
As of late, though, I can't really say that there's anything that's really noteworthy that's come out from my end, but
Right.
I have been trying to just amass more video game knowledge, so that way when I do get the time to start writing reviews, that I can at least make something that's more informed and have a wider berth to speak from.
Right. It's always good to expand your knowledge on video games and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Even finding some, titles that you probably wouldn't even hear of unless someone else had directly told you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like for example, I just while working over at the electronics store that I do, I happened across this game called Hakuoki, Demon of the Fleeting Blossom, and I had no idea what it was. I just thought, you know what, the box looks pretty, I'll just take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up finding out that it was a great visual novel that had absolutely no publicity whatsoever.
Wow. I mean, yeah, there are games that are out there that are not very widely covered. Like,
Then again, it was for the PSP, and no one gives a damn about that anymore.
yeah, I know. Oh, the handheld market in general is kind of hard to sell at this point because of people using the iPhones and kind of going that route. But go on about your whatnots.
Well, not much has happened, really. I mean, any of the quote-unquote noteworthy events have been covered in previous podcasts, like I turned 21, super, and, at least I can put up with those annoying 12-year-olds alive.
Yeah, I've been there.
I know, it's a very cynical view, but...
Right, I hear you.
But yeah, honestly, just to lay it out, though, it's been a pretty good year on my end. I've just tried to take as much time as I could to relax and enjoy games as they are, and just gain more knowledge as I can.
Sounds good. Sounds really good, man.
And yourself?
As for me, lately I've been going back and playing Borderlands 2 because I played the game and I just hadn't had time to play it or get into it more. So I've been going back and playing more of it, and I'm progressing through the story pretty well. I'm having a lot of fun of it. And I can't say enough because I had talked a lot about this in the Freaking Awesome podcast this past weekend. And the game is just the game. For a minute in the minute when you start that game, you are never bored or you are never in a situation where you're kind of felt like you're have nothing else to do because there's always something to do. The comedy's great in that game. The writing is awesome.
And Handsome Jack, his acting was pretty damn good.
Agreed. As shown at the VGAs for best male character role or voice role. Yeah.
No, it was best male voice actor.
Right. Best male voice actor. Yeah, everything about the game is great. I'm like level 15. I just did like two of the most hilarious like side missions I ran into so far. One of which was it was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles side mission, and that I'm almost spoiled for anything because the game is. I mean, like people might have played it, but I'm not gonna spoil it. At least not yet. But
it's loaded with a bunch of references.
Oh yes, definitely.
You can definitely say that much.
Yes, it is, and it's funny. It just by the end of that side mission, you were cracking up. You can even eat the pizza if you want to. And then the other like side mission I just got done with. It was hilarious. It was a reference to Top Gun, and you actually do fight like shirtless, like dude-broed guys with sunglasses, and they come and attack you. So it was hard, but it was actually pretty fun. But yeah, like Borderlands 2.
Question.
Yes.
Now that I thought about it, you mentioned that there was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles based mission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that in mind, did you go with Zero's Battletoad skin by any chance?
I wasn't playing Zero. Right now I'm playing Axton. But if I had the choice, I would, because that sounds great. I'm playing Axton for people who don't know. And Axton, and then because I played Axton because I played Soldier in the last game. I mean, Roland. Sorry. And since he's very similar to Roland, like it just felt comfortable to know what I'm doing. But also it just like that turns is so good when you upgrade it. It helps out tremendously, especially like in like very tight situations. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Borderlands 2, and I'm level 15 right now, so I heard that you can beat the game around like level 24, level 25. Some people will like say level 30, so I'm like probably halfway through the game, I think, in theory, but it depends on how many sub missions I end up taking. But yeah, I've been playing that, and then actually recently I got into League of Legends. Yeah, I always heard about it. I always see my friends playing it. And even my friend that kind of told me to hop on it. And I like downloaded the computer on a computer for a while, and I never just played it. And then my friend Kristen, who also works on the site, by the way, got me into it, and helped me learn the game a bit, and I'm enjoying the game. Like I've picked up like the new champion, Vi, who is just like a bruiser. It's basically like she's a more of a like go up and like punch you in the face type of character, and she's a lot of fun, and I've just been enjoying the game, and the mechanics doesn't seem as hard as people think. Like as long as like your 5 commands, and you can even map them to if you have a mouse that has like multiple buttons, you can even map them to that. I can definitely do that, and then it helps that there are game matches where I can go into where I can play against bots or I can play against players, and for the most part I've been playing against bots just to kind of learn the game more and kind of figure out my strategy.
Not to mention rack up points.
Oh yeah, definitely. I earned enough to buy what was it, Italy, the cat girl. Yeah, she's fun.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been really
Hang on, what is it with cat girls? They're always fun.
Of course, they're awesome. um,
As for me, in regards to the league, I used to play for a while myself,
mhm,
and I not sure why, but I kind of just dropped out of it.
mm,
When I had the opportunity to, I was playing with Wukong, was doing rather well with him,
nice.
but for the free champions that they give you, that you can just keep using,
Hmm.
not sure if I bought her in minutes.
Right.
But I main with Kale now.
Oh.
The angel with the flaming sword.
Oh, okay. Her. Right. Yeah. She's pretty good. That's like.
Yep. Although it took me a while to realize, oh yeah, she's a pull character.
But my God, that freaking I want to say level 4, but like it's not fighting game. That special she has, her arc, I think it was called, where like she like just,
The invisibility spell.
yeah, it's just like, god damn, it is like, that is some overpowered shit. um but yeah, I've been playing it. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, I should suggest to anybody who loves strategy games like StarCraft 2, or even like recently the XCOM game that just came out, Enemy Unknown. You guys should check it out. You know, it may be a little tough at first, but as long as you don't go into the versus match right away, you should be pretty okay with the bots for now, just to learn the game. So also, I learned that it's the community for LoL. They're pretty bad, and I mean in a sense that, because you know, as obviously to some people who won't listen to some people who may have listened to this podcast, I'm part of the fighting game community, and we're not as good as people think, but LoL apparently is worse. So if I can handle that, yeah, I'm good. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to as late, as far as like game wise and everything else. Aside from, you know, partying from New Year's. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to. And with that,
Hmm.
we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to get right into the meat of our discussion for tonight. Looking back the year 2012, and looking at things that were big in that event in the video game industry. So stick with us, and we'll be right back. Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Bionis from the Mission Start Podcast. And if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. And we're back. And now we're getting to the main discussion of tonight, and that is looking back at 2012. Not more or less the whole game of the year discussion, and more of the, what were the biggest things that come out of 2012? Like any trends, anything that might have come out and you know, kind of in a different perspective affected the game industry. So, Kris, did you have anything in mind that kind of like what stood out to you in the year 2012?
Oh, we're just talking about games all together, because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there are too many things that made me lose all faith in humanity.
Yeah. I mean, I will say 2012 was a great year for games alone. People say that it wasn't a great year, but like, no, there were some great games come out of it.
Seriously, when it comes to like video games, that was, well, video games and to some respects anime. However, I've kind of fallen out of that territory, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a shame. But
You're-
I'll try and get back into it.
You're not
I have my
you're not missing much. Believe me, I've been watching the past couple seasons of the anime lineups, and it's just basically the same shit as they show every time. But you know, with a few other good ones in there. But go on.
But one of the coolest things that I absolutely loved was the fact that for those of us who grew up in the 90s, one of the things that we would always look forward to every single day was seeing Tom on Toonami and just rocking out with some great TV. Like Batman, the animated series, Outlaw Star, the Tenchi series with... God, they went through Tenchi Muyo, No Need for Tenchi, Tenchi Muyo Universe. They went through like 6 different arcs. But they had that, they brought Dragon Ball Z to the West, and that really set off its popularity here. The Thundercats, God, there's so many shows that came out from Toonami.
Yeah, Sailor Moon.
How did I forget Sailor Moon?
Sailor Moon, yeah. Well, I think that was like during the time where Moltar was doing his thing before Tom did. But yeah, like there was Sailor Moon. There was Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh man, yeah. There were some other good ones in there in this Toonami lineup. But I do agree, like when Toonami came back. Yes, it was just, oh man, it was a great feeling. I'm definitely with you on that.
And on top of that, they integrated the greatest from the now and from the then. Now, the only thing that I just can't wait to see, because they did it for one showing, and I was overjoyed and heartbroken at the same time, was to see Outlaw Star back on the air again. That was like my absolute favorite show back then.
Yeah, Outlaw Star was really good. I love that show.
Yeah, but moving on to something that's slightly related. We had mentioned Sailor Moon, and in 2012 they started doing reprints of the Sailor Moon manga under Kodansha.
Right, that's right. And with the announcement of the Sailor Moon anime series coming back this summer, actually. Yeah.
Refresh my memory, was it just supposed to be a remastering or a brand new series?
From what I've heard,
not like they can really change much.
Right.
But...
From what I've heard, it's actually like a new series of Sailor Moon coming out this summer. It's kind of, I think it's kind of like how, remember when Inuyasha, I think it was last year I think it was last year, or 2 years ago actually, where they finally continued the series, finished it, after like the anime series like stopped because it cut up to the manga.
Yeah, well, what they did for the anime was kind of a quick epilogue, which, as Rumiko Takahashi herself even said in interviews, she's never really been that great when it came to putting together an ending. Her content is good, but sometimes, she gets wrapped into it and it goes on forever, and it has its hits and it has its misses.
Just look at Rama. Just look at Rama 1/2.
Okay, Rama 1/2 was amazing, but
I meant like the fact that it was like
I
meant the fact that it was like long as hell, and it's like it never ended for a while.
And the thing is like that set the standard for what a long series was. And then there was Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Ranma was finished as Dragon Ball Z was hitting its apex, and now we have Bleach, One Piece, Naruto, and all of them have clearly passed Dragon Ball, and people still bitch and complain about how long DB is.
Yeah, definitely. I think that Dragon Ball Z did set the precedent to really put out what a long series is and kept it entertaining without having any fillers. Maybe an episode or two where like they're kind of grouping off, but it's like it's not as like BS as say Naruto was, or how the fillers for Bleach weren't as bad, but still it's just they
were kind of a strain to watch.
Yeah,
quite frankly, I've watched my fair deal of Bleach, and I'm going to piss off a lot of fans here. I absolutely do not like the anime. I like the manga because like they actually go and do stuff. In the anime, though, it just
Don't you hate it sometimes when anime series like in the middle of a big like conflict? It's like, hey, let's go play soccer. Let's go play soccer one day. It's like okay, I guess that works. Yeah.
Yeah, or oh hey, we're totally like not in the middle of a big arc or anything, but let's go ahead and focus on minor characters that have absolutely nothing to do with the story.
Let's all go to the beach and have a swimsuit episode. Oh, anime. But yeah,
Okay, you have to admit though that what Matsumoto was able to do with, well,
that is
uh,
inhumanly possible, but I know it's awesome.
you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, of course. I've seen that episode.
Movie.
I mean, hey, like I watched Bleach up until like when they had the big fight of Aizen, but it's like after that I mean it wasn't the fact that I just enjoy it. It's just that it
That's actually how the anime ended, by the way.
really I
Yeah,
thought they kept it going. Like I thought because I
no, Bleach animes ended, and it ended not too long ago. I'd say probably about a month and a half here in the United States. They did show the last episode, and that was the big confrontation between Ichigo and Ukiura and their like fully released stages.
oh okay yeah
It was like right around that point.
okay I was talking about the time when they first approach Aizen, like all the Soul Reapers and Ichigo come together to fight him the first time around. But yeah, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the anime series because I did, but just that the fact it was just like after a while I got tiring. I mean, like the kind of like you feel exhausted type of deal, and I
Like just hurry up and do something else.
yeah, because I thought like I was getting close to maybe the end of the series. Like okay, maybe it's finally starting to end. It's like nope, there's still another arc to go through. It's like oh wow really? I'm done. I want.
And don't get me wrong, I think Kubo, he does a good job when it comes to making a series, but I think that his strong suit honestly lies in his manga. Because with the Bleach manga, sure, that's all the way up to volume 54, 55 here in the States, and it's probably up to 67 in Japan.
Right.
If it's gotten that far. I don't know, I'm not following along, but
Okay.
I will say, though, that I think that's where his strong suit is.
Yeah. Was there anything else that popped up to you out of 2012?
Well, plenty of things. If we're gonna go ahead and stay to nerd culture, though, I'll say with the release of the Wii U, that was a new bandwagon that people can both hop on for praise and for hate. Honestly, I've been playing my Wii U for, well, as much as I have been able to, and I found that the game that came along with my deluxe edition was a lot of fun to play, even if I was mostly taking care of it single player.
Are you talking about Nintendo Land or?
Yeah, Nintendo Land.
You know what's funny? And I was talking to Greg about this in the freaking awesome podcast this past weekend. Is that he agreed? Like he actually is really enjoying Nintendo Land. I'm like kind of surprised by it. Like apparently,
especially since like he comes off hating Nintendo products so much.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was even like, okay, so tell me,
speak, could you?
No, because yeah, I'm speechless. So okay, so Nintendo Land, you guys describe it to me like, okay, so are the mini games really that fun and well designed, or is it something else that's driving it, or why exactly is it so popular?
I think it's the fact that it harkens back to the days of old when you could just sit down and enjoy a game for the basis of just enjoying the game. It's not so in depth that you're like, oh geez, like I have to get into the story, or it doesn't have a long running series that's that came before it, and there's nothing that can remotely be seen to come after Nintendo Land, even though there's going to be most likely there will be a second one, probably next year or a year later or something like that, with more games added to the collection. but it went through and took bits and pieces from all of these different games that we like, such as Donkey Kong, F-Zero,
Mm-hmm.
Metroid, Legend of Zelda, Animal Crossing, if I didn't mention that before,
Mm-hmm.
and even introduced a couple of its own, which included the Octopus Dance, which was actually pretty fun to do. There's that. I'm trying to remember. They have a ninja game where you have to throw shuriken against all these little cardboard ninjas. It just has all these fun little games that they're... How do I put it? It's like they knew how to... Like, they knew exactly where to aim.
Mm.
So, like, to use Assassin's Creed 3 as an example, when you're in the sailing missions and you happen to hit a galleon, and you hit it just the right way to where you can expose its weak spot, and then you shoot at it with that little cannon, and the whole thing explodes.
Mm.
Same sort of principle,
Mm.
in the sense that, let's go ahead and say that the galleon, the big, warship, is the game itself. And what they try to do is create something that encompassed all these different games and took all these different fun elements from there,
Mm-hmm.
set them up to be played in a party atmosphere that can be done either single player or multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's quite a wide selection of games that can be played just by single player as well.
Mm.
But they took those elements and decided to utilize the abilities that the gamepad has to offer and work them in a way that creates a series of small games that are fun, entertaining, have high replay value, and it even has little in-game achievements to give you incentive to work harder, to play more, and you can even unlock prizes and make your plaza look that much prettier as a result.
Wow. So it sounds like they have a game where you can easily hop in, play for a few minutes if you want to, and hop back out, or spend more time playing some of the games. Wow. What's funny is that I think Nintendo has figured out the kind of mini game aspect of some of the games, because if you look back when the Wii first launched, you had Wii Sports, and that was the game that people really enjoyed playing back then when it was released. And it's shown here that Nintendo Land, even though it may look like a Wii Sports clone, it isn't, and it's showing that Nintendo knows what they're doing. I'm surprisingly shocked.
Yeah, honestly, I would have to say that Nintendo knew exactly what they were doing when they made Nintendo Land, and it was probably one of the best things that they could have included with the console.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the Wii Sports and everything like that, you would go through and play it, and it's like, oh yeah, that was fun for about a couple minutes. Now I'm bored, and let me find something else.
Right.
With the Nintendo Land, though, it's fully interactive. You get to use all aspects of the gamepad. You can use the Wiimotes over the course of gaming and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And altogether, it provides a great experience that's good for anywhere between 1 to 5 players.
Nice. Awesome. Sweet. And I have to agree, Wii U was a big event that for many gamers to get a hands on a new console, because of we've been with this console generation for so long, is that people were very very eager to get hands on something new. Yeah, so I definitely agree. Was there anything else that kind of stood out to you in 2012?
Well, if we're not talking about games, there were plenty of activist movements, and there was a lot of history that was made in 2012. This is the first time we've ever had an African American president re-elected.
Yeah.
For presidency.
Yeah, that was
So
big.
there is that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have our own element of progressive history.
Mm-hmm.
There's that.
Mm-hmm.
We've had our fair share of tragedies. We've had Hurricane Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
We've had to deal with the Newtown shooting,
Mm-hmm.
which only happened not too long ago. And
Mm-hmm.
on the cosplay page that I also happen to admin, I
Oh
really,
yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, you saw my ranting about what I saw for a page called Teen Swag, which that's a whole other story I'll get into a little later.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I was thinking.
But you saw.
Oh no, I was gonna say like, are you gonna talk about the day where Facebook deleted all those cosplay accounts on Facebook?
No. That's another thing which I was going to get into later. But
Right.
in regards to the Newtown shooting, I had found a page that said, like for one prayer and share for 100, and that absolutely set me off. I could not have found anything that was just came off so disrespectful.
Mm.
And here you have all these people that are suffering, and you're boosting your own ego and fluffing up your own page by under the false pretenses that likes are going to do something.
Yeah, they were hopping on the bandwagon at the moment, but also it's one of the things that have been kind of been the new trend in Facebook, at least, is that it's the whole image of like if you like this image, share if you, or like what like certain choices, then you get to choose and like comment or share type of deal, which I find those kind of annoying after a while. I'm like, I don't mind every once in a while, but it is starting to become a bit annoying.
Yeah, if anything, over the course of 2012, Facebook has made me a naysayer and a hell of a cynic in comparison to how I used to be. Because as you knew, when I was writing before, I would always try to find good aspects about whatever I'm covering. But now I go through and smack down everything and then bring up its good points. But again, story for another time. In this case, Facebook has given rise to what can be colloquially known as like whores, in which they'll pretty much do anything to say, oh hey, like this or share this, or like within 3 seconds if you think this is true. Just there are certain things that really push
you know what's funny? It's like it's the evolution of chainmails that used to get back in the day, either through email or even.
Oh my god, I haven't even heard the term chainmail in the past. It's been years.
Yeah, like it is the evolution from getting mail from that to getting text to even going on MySpace and getting messages, or if you don't send message back, something bad can happen to you, or that type of deal. It's an evolution of that, pretty much. So
yeah, it's really I would say that it definitely got a higher rise as of around March of 2012. That's when I've noticed that it started picking up more and more often. But to go back to Facebook and switch topics, there was what you had mentioned before, the deletion of all the cosplay accounts on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And through there, for many members of the cosplaying community, such as myself, even though I've kind of been on and off, and I'm unfortunately somewhat detached, but there was the fact that there were all these people, God, tens of thousands,
Right.
that went through and they created separate accounts, and if they had the word cosplay in them, they were removed. And even if this was for the sole purposes of separating your content, so that way, if you don't want certain people to see these things, then you leave them out of it. And I won't go into any personal details.
Right.
I had created mine for the sole purpose of not annoying my friends
Oh
with
yeah,
various cosplay updates.
definitely.
And then as soon as that happened, I ended up making more use out of my page, which I was really happy for.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at that as a silver lining. But afterwards, when I was able to get my account back, I still had all my pictures and everything, but I had to expose my full name and show a picture of my driver's license to Facebook in order to actually get it back.
Yeah. The thing is though is that and then I did a whole report on this actually last year for my journalism class. Um, and I won't go into huge detail because if I explain everything, it'll take too long. But long story short, the very reason why Facebook banned these cosplay accounts was because they were losing money and they needed to somehow look at what was taking up the most space, and it just happens to be cosplayers. And then they started banning people from there, and then it went on to ban other things and that were kind of taking up space. And yeah, ever since then. But yeah, it was basically just losing money. It's pretty much what it was. So.
And the thing is that as soon as the outcry came out about that,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook ended up looking at a relatively decent surge of profits.
Yeah, it did.
Because all these people, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but for every single account that's made to onto Facebook, that actually nets the company $47.
$47 for each account created. Wow.
For each account that gets created, that is $47 of net worth that is added to the accounts.
Wow. Wow. I've always thought that Facebook gained their revenue through ads on their site.
There is that, and if you're a colossal D-bag like myself who has ad blocker, well, I'm kind of impeding on that.
Interesting. Wow.
But on that same note, though, in regards to Facebook, and everything like that, I have also noticed that there have been a lot of pages that have come out there, and they've been advocating a lot of great causes.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones is, well, as it's no surprise for the fans that I am a big Legend of Zelda fan, and by proxy, I've followed the pages Furore, the Goddess of Courage, Girahim, Captain Linebeck.
Oh yeah.
Phi, and so on. And one of them that came up was Operation Phi, where it turns out that the admin of the Phi Facebook page, she had been showing symptoms for quite some time that that she may have very well had cancer. And what all these different page admins did was try to put together a fundraiser to help her collect some money and save up for treatments and to get proper medical health care. And I know I've donated a fair deal of cash myself. I've gone into triple digits for my own personal contributions, but I know that there are a lot of pages and organizations that have come up, and it's just one example of many.
Right.
That are actually rooted, in good faith and are designed to just come off and serve a good purpose. And I wholeheartedly respect that in the efforts of everyone involved.
I agree. There has been, in the case of 2012, there has been in cases where Facebook has shown that people have put together these pages to help out each other and not use it for hoarding or for anything else, but for charitable needs. So I do applaud that type of thing. Agreed.
And I had just wanted to bring that up because as I mentioned before, I really do like the organization and what it stands for. So, I figured maybe getting it a little bit of air would be a nice sentiment on my end.
Right.
Not sure how well that would help, but Oh well.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, there were also several other instances, but the last thing that I will bring up that I thought was noteworthy
hmm
was the rise and fall of memes. And in this case, I'm sure you know about all the different Rage Comics
hmm
faces, like the okay guy,
hmm
the fuck,
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
And uh, I know that there was a very large percentage of Facebook users and Redditors and, well, no matter where you looked, memes were everywhere.
Yeah. They
And
were.
it felt right. It just seemed to work. But now, uh, as many people would attribute it to Reddit and 9gag, those are the two most attributed sources for basically ruining memes by turning it into, how do I put this eloquently, reprocessed filth.
mm.
It, like, originally they were used to set up for, funny situations, and they were, just reaction faces to certain circumstances that happen to come your way.
hmm
And then after a while, they started to devolve as more and more things got added, and again, it just started losing its touch, and now most people don't tend to avoid using them.
Yeah. I think that memes over time are starting to get to the point where people will still make them and people may still use them as jokes, but it's not as funny as it was back then that it is now. It's I think as a community we've just grown smarter, I think, and just kind of we've seen it before, you need to show me something new. So, yeah, I definitely see how it has become less of a thing that people do nowadays. Mm.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I think those were the biggest things that at least caught my attention.
Cool.
How about you, Anthony? What is it that you've noticed and would like to point out as either the saving graces or, well, the puddles of mud for 2012?
2012, to me, I think the first thing that comes to mind is because it's something that I love is uh, the things that were in the video game industry that were trending. Like I might have said this before, but actually no, actually to go back on what you said about the Wii U, people there was like a real precedent. People really wanted like a new console. Before the Wii U was like remember the fundraiser, that wasn't the fundraiser, it was the Kickstarter for the Oh Yeah console. Um, the Oh Yeah console, um, that was
Yeah, you kind of have to refresh my memory on that one.
that was I'm trying to think. That was the one console where it was basically they put like all the mobile games into a console, and they were like declaring like modders, you can mod this and you can mod it to your discretion, and they were looking for people to make independent games for it as well. Uh,
Oh, right, right. And isn't that also one of the main reasons why Minecraft got so popular?
not
Because it had the ability to just be user creation.
yeah. I do know that yeah, Minecraft is on mobile devices, um, and that I think that's one of the games that they were gonna they're gonna put in there. Yes, um, and yeah, it was people poured in millions of their own money for Kickstarter for Oh Yeah because they were like, oh my God, it's a new console, and it really showed that people are really, really um, prepared or they're set to move on to the next generation of consoles because we've been with this generation for so long. I think we're moving on from 8 to 9 years of staying with these same consoles. Um, so it definitely showed me that people are ready to go to the next thing, and we'll probably see something new at E3 or at least at GDC. The announcements for like a PS4 and the next Xbox 360 console.
Yeah, although wouldn't it be called the Xbox 20 or...
I hope not. I hope they name something else because that is like the most idiotic name.
The Orbis.
any
The Orbis was another one
I don't
as a tentative title.
I don't care. It could be named pieces of shit, and I will still buy it as long as it's better than the Xbox 720. So the other things that stood out to me in the year 2012 in gaming is that um, I think that there was a fine line between how much fan feedback you can take and how much of your own input into making a game. And in some cases, like Mass Effect 3, there were people who were so angry about the ending that they really voiced their opinions to, not Bungie, but to BioWare. And BioWare at first were, stood, firm on their decision, on their art decision on, this is the ending, this is what we envisioned it. But after...
And frankly, I really wish that they did stick with what they had.
Agreed. And but then after a while, they said, you know what? If you really want the ending you guys wanted, we'll make one, and they did, and they released it. And it really showed that there's a fine line between how much can you let the fans really control your product versus what your ideal vision of the game, because you can't make a game that can make everybody happy. And it just so happens to be a game where people felt like their Shepard was their experience because they customized it to be looking like them, or it's because they've had such a connection to that adventure that they had while playing Mass Effect. So that was really telling, and it kind of makes me a little worried if that may be the case. But it's not with all companies that do that. I mean, but yep.
Yeah, and on that note, though, I won't actually go ahead and make it a public thought of my own. I'm going to go ahead and seed with one of our more vocal fans about Mass Effect series. And when it came to the third installment, as much as I do love it and think that it was presented well, it could have very well just been through my own setup. And I may have been thinking more along the lines of how the developers wanted the player to go through. In this case, Pat Stevens, one of that fan that I had mentioned before, he had made mention that in Mass Effect 1, he didn't really feel any sort of attachment to the Alliance in the sense that there you were a relatively unknown commander, which commander is a very high-ranking military, but
Right.
that's not the point. Anyway, you play as Commander Shepard, and it sort of seems like everything kind of falls into place, and while it does work with you, it could have had more draw into, like, having you work with the Alliance, since it seems as though all they did was bootlick the Council in order to try and get help for their own ends. And in my case, I saved the Council because I figure they're already established, and the likelihood is that if humanity can show its merits, then it will earn its place. Sure enough, it does, but the thing is that you could play it in the completely opposite ends and say that the Alliance is not going to work with you. And so, in that sense, he went through and continued on to that sort of mentality. And when he played as Shepard in Mass Effect 2, he thought that there was nothing that Cerberus could actually offer him that was worth his investment. And so when it comes down to it, he was telling the Alliance that they can go screw themselves, and then telling Cerberus that they're ineffective and their baseless and moralist way of going about things is also not worth supporting. So in the end, he had no real ties other than the crew that he had assembled himself. And when it came down to it, he ended up playing in the third and felt uh, remiss that he had to work with the Alliance again. And it was in a situation where he really didn't want to have anything to do with them, and nothing really seemed to fall in place.
I see.
So, with that in mind, now that I finally get up to what I wanted to say earlier, if BioWare had made the option, or put in an extra 2 years maybe,
Mm-hmm.
I would have waited that long. If they put in the extra couple of years
Mm-hmm.
and made basically 2 copies of the game, where one is with the Alliance, which is our standard playthrough,
Right.
and the other one working with Cerberus, then it could have been a more all-encompassing experience that could have better fleshed it out and worked alongside the player's own decisions, and it could have felt like less of an ass pull towards the end, as people have described, much to my chagrin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
I,
yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think that um, there are certain decisions that BioWare made that they felt would benefit the game, but to some fans, it wasn't really much of a benefit to them, to more of a hindrance. Um, but yeah, I hope that this is not the trend for this 2013 year, where fans may have more control than developers, just because they're the core group, the core loud group, as far as, like, they're going to buy the game regardless, or that they may.
Yeah, and I happen to fall under a category of consumer, which I wouldn't say it's exactly the most popular of standpoints
Mm-hmm.
to go with, but frankly, I feel that as a consumer, I do not have the rights to tell the gamers how things should have done, or should have been done, and expect them to go through and complete things and work everything to my own design, because I know that it's a selfish request and it can very well ruin the playing experience for others.
Right, right.
However, I will also see that fan feedback is important. So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to the company making their next game or their next installment, they can think, okay, so here are the mistakes that we made with this particular series. So how about for this next, title that we work with, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we don't have those as recurrencies, and instead try to, you know, limit those to as absolute bare minimum as possible.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. The other thing that stood out to me in 2012 was that the rise of independent games that were getting a lot more attention than before, and it was helped through Steam, because Steam always has those special deals they have on their site, and also to the whole humble bundle type of deal. Also, I believe those two really help bring out more independent games to light, and they've gotten a lot more love this year than they have previous years. Like we just discussed, that Journey was nominated for Game of the Year in the VGA last year.
And for an indie game, that's a phenomenal achievement in and
Mm-hmm.
of itself.
And plus the soundtrack, it was also nominated for a Grammy, which is very, very impressive.
The fact that any video game could get attention and, well, recognition of that scale obviously goes to show that, that there's so much that can be worked with, and the absolutely limitless potential that video games have in our community, that it stands out to be not more than just the perceived baseless entertainment, but rather an actual, form of art, a medium by which we can freely express ourselves and craft stories that are interactive and can draw in a wide crowd.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I mean, it shows you that gamers are willing to play games outside the AAA blockbuster hits and in playing the independent games that they may have never heard of and really enjoyed it, like FTL. They came out last year, which is a great, it did art. It's very simple, but like it's a great experience to play. Another game that people might have skipped on that might have played was shit. Well, there was that Black Mesa mod that they came out last year. That was basically a mod for Half-Life 1, but it was like redone in HD graphics and everything was just nice and neat. But just overall, like independent games was just a very it was more of a coming out party, and with the help of the Humble Bundle and with Steam.
And when you had mentioned the Humble Bundle group,
Hmm.
I would like to definitely commend them for their efforts that they have when it comes to the gaming industry.
Oh yes, yes.
When I for doing what they can to help support indie gamers, indie musicians, and other organizations like the Let's Play Foundation. And there were 3 other charities that they supported, although off the top of my head, I can't remember them. I know the Let's Play one for sure, but
Right.
the others, unfortunately, aren't coming to mind.
Right. I believe.
Anyway,
Or go ahead. Sorry.
so I was just going to say that I first heard of them through the Humble Indie Bundle 5, where they had in there Amnesia: The Dark Sense,
Mm-hmm.
Bastion, there's Braid. I'm trying to look through all the ones that I have on Steam because I've
Right.
taken advantage of what they have.
Also, there was. I mean,
Psychonauts.
yeah. Like also, there was a game that came out that was indie developed and it wasn't sold. It was for free actually. And it was Slenderman, which it's a scary ass game, but it got very popular and it was another independent game that people were taking notice and played. Um, but yeah, like I believe that Humble Bundle was I think it probably gave the most money to independent developers than I think that they ever had in their career as far as putting them out on Xbox Live or on PSN, or even out on PC somewhere. And I think that they helped them tremendously. And you see more Humble Bundles coming out, and you see more these indie developers coming out and selling their game on there rather than themselves. And they probably earned more on there than they have than anything else. So, in last year, there has, I mean, and it has been a trend as of late, but many companies were either in trouble or were shutting down, and THQ was actually one of them that were. I mean, they're not shut down, but they're in bankruptcy right now, and or file for bankruptcy, and they look.
And it's a shame because the THQ is a company. They make great games.
Hmm.
The last one I've played through them was Darksiders. Not the second one. I just haven't gotten it, but I haven't had the chance to work with the bundle. But the Darksiders game that they had, it was a fantastic
Oh
playing
yes,
experience.
definitely, it's a great game. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. It's not surprising to people who are in the know in the video game industry as far as like game companies closing, but in the public eye, in some of these cases, they've closed partly because of money reasons, but also partly for other bad decisions they might have made, like the company who made the Kingdoms of Amalur game. While the game did pretty okay, it did pretty good in terms of sales and critics. The aftermath of just what happened afterwards just imploded within themselves, where like the entire staff eventually got fired because of the owner of the company made a deal with Long Island to make the game only if he had like made jobs for people in Long Island for moving a company there, and just tons of bad shit that just happened to the point where it was, I guess, laughable at some points. But it's just kind of that and other cases where game
Yeah,
companies.
if you look through the public eye, it comes off as a little bit shocking, but as soon as you start digging into it, it's just like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and it's that tone
yeah,
as well.
definitely. The other things that popped out to mind out of 2012 for the game industry was that Steam themselves, when they brought out when they're improving Steam, as far as like not only through their wholesale deals and whatnot, but like they introduced the modding system into their Steam, where and instead of buying a game and then going through a different website to download the mod and then manually install it, they have it.
Yeah, the Steam Workshop, you mean?
Yes, where you buy the game and you can look at the mods on Steam as far as which ones you want, and the simple just install the mod on my game and it will do it for you. You don't have to worry about going in manually. So
And in fact, I can just go off of that. Just looking through my Steam catalog right now, I'd pick up Skyrim because I know of the workshop there. There are a lot of really cool texture mods there. So, like for example, the Hectral Caves, there is a deluxe high-resolution retexturing pack, which turns it from almost like a shiny stone from the wall to where it actually looks like it has moss and all these pock marks from natural deterioration. Or right next to it was the Beast Skeletons app but mod that shows new types of skeletons for Argonians, Khajiits, orcs, and elves, and it even expands all the way through manor upgrades, merchant ones, to cosmetic changes such as having a nice looking set of armor that you just wouldn't normally be able to get.
Right, definitely. And it's totally awesome, and it's great that Steam did that because it made things a lot more easier. It really did. And also kind of go off of Steam, that other thing like there were so many things in 2012 I can think of right now as far as like what was big to me. And the other thing I want to say is that the breaking out of free-to-play games, especially for MMOs, really did break out last year. And like in some cases, was it the Star Wars MMO is now free-to-play, and so is
and that pissed off so many people.
Oh yeah, of course, because like when the game first came out, it's like you had to pay for the game, but then.
And not only that, you also had to pay for online usage for a while as well.
Right. Yeah. There were some other games that were actually console games, but came out as free to MMO games. Were more apparent in this past year than it were in others. But also games that we would usually think would cost $60 to buy, they came out for free, and one of which was PlanetSide 2, which the game looks gorgeous. The game is fun, and it's for free on Steam. So it is very interesting to see more free-to-play games coming out. And I've been listening to other podcasts talking about it and saying that free-to-play games are something that to look for in the future. And I had thought that, okay, maybe for MMOs or whatnot, but I haven't envisioned a generation of free-to-play games to be in the forefront of gaming, as far as like as the art and just kind of whole production of a nice quality game to be for free, compared to what a usual AAA blockbuster game would be. So it's very interesting to see that this past year. I guess it's a breaking out party in some sense.
Yeah, and if I could go off of that note, one of the common misconceptions was that free-to-play games, you could only do that under two circumstances, and that was either A, you're first starting out and you need, basically you are almost required to make the project that you've labored on for hell months or years,
Mm-hmm.
you have to end up making it free so that way you can actually make a name for yourself. Or B, if you're a company that has established itself so well that it that you make so much money that you can afford to quote unquote take a loss
Mm-hmm.
and introduce a game that's free, even though it's all of your work put into it. And then, of course, there's the high likelihood that people can always buy extra stuff to add, just using their own money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very
Uh,
interesting.
on that note, and on that note, I could go ahead and make uh, one website that I used to work with for quite some time, Nexon, and a team that made Maple Story, Dragon's Nest, Mabinogi, and there were three other games which again aren't coming to me off the top of my head. But they're a company that has established itself so well that pretty much all the revenue comes from people buying things. Everything else is free.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It is very it is very awesome and it's great to see free to play games getting more into the spotlight than it usually used to have, and because man, the next generation of kids are just gonna be so fucking lucky. They get to play games that are free to play and they look just as good as 360 games. And oh man, they're gonna have it so much easier than we did. um, but yeah, hopefully it is be more of a trend for next year, and hopefully be maybe to the point where we may end up playing the next Halo game for free, which would be great. The other thing that stood out to me is that um, now it all started with Minecraft, where it came out in beta and people still bought it when it was not even finished. And since then, there has been, at least in the 2012 years, that more more companies have came out with games that were in beta or even in alpha and that were not done, but they were still selling it regardless. And people would actually buy just to play the game from beta. And game companies were really just kind of they don't know how to review those type of games. If you can buy the game but it's still in beta, that means it's not finished but people can still play it. So it's like gaming websites don't know how to take that on or how to review it. So and the thing is though, is like looking at at some award shows, like Minecraft was being nominated even though it was not even finished. So it's very weird situation for game websites. But for people who are like us or the casual people, it's a great thing for them because they get to get on the beta for free or beta in early before anybody else does, or pay that amount of money. And it's I mean it's cool for the consumer, but it's a pain in the ass for like other people. So I think that's like one of the things that came out that stood out to me in 2012. Yeah. um and then I have one last thing that just kind of stood out to me. um and this is not game related, actually. This is actually more or less the kind of real life quote unquote aspect of what I felt. Not to say like everything that you said before, Kris, was important, which I do agree. Um, but one other thing was the rise of Reddit and how that became very popular this past year, and it was starting to get more popular in 2 years ago as well. But it became such a popular website that you had people, famous people who are musicians, game industry people, actors, even the president himself went on Reddit and did a MAA on there, and it has grown and exploded to so much that I'm just surprised at how fast and how great it is. Now whether it will be like that for coming on years, it depends on how often people still use it and either stay with it or move on to the next thing. But it's like one of the big things that came out to me as far as like what real life stuff, as far as like the internet and how Reddit exploded. So yeah, so that's for me for 2012. Oh, and FYI, if people were just wondering, Borderlands 2 is my game of the year. So just just throwing that out there.
Well, we're talking about game of the years, who people are still going to get on my case for, but I'm going to go ahead and stand firm with Mass Effect 3.
You're not alone on that. There's many people that would agree with you, and
there is one thing that I really wish that I could see, though. I wanted to see Shepard and Liara's blue baby.
Oh, well, maybe...
I was with her for all 3 games. I should have at least gotten to see, Liara just holding one in each arm or something.
Right. Yeah, I kind of went for it in the first one. I cheated on her on the second one, and then...
Did you make up with her, or...?
Yeah, I did in the third one. I like the fact that she just, she liked the fact that she accepts it pretty quickly. It's like, oh, so you and Tally aren't together anymore? It's like, no, we're not. It was a one-time deal. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I love you again. It's like, oh, yeah, I love you too. It's like, it's like she got over it very quickly.
Well, the thing is that with her occupation as the shadow broker, and well, hell, it had been years since you two had been together, given the circumstances, and unfortunately, she had to go on and continue her own life. And as for me, when I had Mass Effect 2, and I'm gonna kick myself for this every single time. I was going through and playing all the DLC. I accidentally ended up saving over a save file I wanted to keep.
Oh, I know that feeling. It sucks.
Okay, so where I had saved was at the point where Shepard, you can choose to just have a quickie with Jack or try and pursue her into a relationship. And I didn't realize that, she would pretty much not really want to talk to you again if you did the one night stand thing. And I figured, okay, well, I'm done with that. I'm going to go ahead and have 2 playthroughs ready for me for Mass Effect 3. And one of them was gone because I had to be a dip and hit select over it.
It sucks, dude. But
the thing is that, given circumstances, either way, Liara had to move on, and it was Shepard who chose whether or not to keep things going or, to stop. And I don't know.
Right.
I feel like I'm going to get lost in the moment if I keep talking about it.
Right, it's cool. But yeah, you're not alone. There are people who argue that Mass Effect 3 is Game of the Year over others. So, but yeah, that's going to do it for us. Kris, I'd like to thank you for joining me for this late night podcasting.
No problem. Anytime.
And I'd like to thank everybody listening to us, and Happy New Year to everyone who's been with us since the start, or at least from 2011. And if you would like to follow me personally, you can follow me on Twitter at @EffectiveNaruto. You can follow my work that I do on missionstartpodcast.com. Everything is there as far as reviews, previews, news, convention coverage, and all our social media stuff is right there in the front page if you want to go check it out. So, yeah. Where can they find you, Kris?
Well, of course, I work with Mission Start Podcast, and you can find me there on both the Facebook page, as I try to keep things active there, as well as, on the website as well. I unfortunately haven't been as active in my writing as I would have liked. Just this past Christmas shopping season and everything leading up to it has drained all of my time, and I know that's no excuse, but I do promise that with the start of this new semester and the fact that there's nothing that I have to worry about completely impeding me from my work, you should be expecting to see a little more from me through the websites. Other than that, you guys can find me at my own personal Facebook page, Kaz Cosplay, where I try to keep things pretty entertaining through there. I did start as a cosplay page, and it still is, but unfortunately, with lack of personal time, it's mostly kept up for entertainment purposes. And I think if you guys went and checked it out, I can keep you guys entertained.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And just a reminder for people who are listening to this podcast and are headed to Sec Anime this weekend, we do have a panel going on this Sunday. Kris is going to be there. Kaz from Run On Network is going to be there. We may have a third guest. It's kind of up in the air at the moment, but we're going to be there talking about convention stories and kind of, in the past as far as like over the years as far as like what convention stories we had and yeah, that type of deal. So yeah, join us. It'll be a lot of fun.
And not only that, but there is going to be a raffle at the end.
Raffles.
Funsies and goodies.
Do you just about the top of your head, do you know what the time it's going to be at in the room?
It's been a while, but if I remember correctly, it should be from 2 to 3 p.m. Although for the room, I am thinking it's in, I want to say Auditorium 2.
Right.
More info will be posted in the programs themselves, though. It's going to be an hour-long segment. I can guarantee that much.
Yeah, definitely. And if you guys are going to Sec Anime, it will be in the program schedule. So definitely go check it out if you can. And with that...
Hold on a second. I did find a PDF. Sorry, not to cut you off there.
Right.
So we are in workshops in the... Gardenta Ballroom from 12 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, my apologies. I had to correct myself twice there.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll definitely be there. We'll be there taking coverage of the convention as well. So if you see us around, say hi, hang out with us. We're cool peoples. And, yeah, that's going to do it for us. So we will see you all next time. And, again, Happy New Year.